All right, welcome back, guys. I'm gonna let Father Paul introduce himself. He's here and ready for you guys. He's gonna do his lecture, and then he has a master class later, a 30-minute with Maya. So we're gonna let him introduce his lecture and go on with his lecture. All good to go?
I'm Father Paul Maillet. How do I do that?
There you go. You're unmuted.
Okay. I'm Father Paul Maillet, and I studied with Dorothy Taubman for many, many years, starting in the mid-'80s and continuing until near the time she died. So today I'm going to talk about scales, and before I begin, I'd like to just say two preliminary caveats. The first is, well, I'll tell you in the form of a story. I remember once bringing in something to Mrs. Taubman, and I played a spot that I wanted to work on, and I played it fine. There was no problem. It went well. And she said, "So, what are you having difficulty with?" And I said, "Well, nothing. I just want to know how I'm supposed to rotate and move on this." And she said, "Basically, if it ain't broke, don't fix it." She said, "If you are playing and it's going well and it's easy for you, you're not having any pain, anything like that, it doesn't make sense to take it apart and redo your technique." So that's the first, and then she added, "You can't beat nature, kiddo." So her point was never to get people to play her way. The point was for her to get people to play in a way that was easy and natural and that would not lead to injury. And then the second part is, if you do need help with scales, maybe you're a beginner, maybe you have been injured, maybe your playing is labored and you know that it's a better way to do it, there's no substitute for a good teacher. Just listening to lectures and watching things is not necessarily the best way to go about it. Really, you need to have an expert in the Taubman approach to work with, who can tell you if you're doing everything correctly or diagnose what's missing. Because there are a lot of incorrect ways of doing what I'm about to discuss, and there's only one correct way of doing it. So when we talk about scales, you might think, all right, we're going to start with the C major scale. But based on what Dr. Witten was talking about, Chopin's advice, we're going to start with the B major scale. For the main reason that it's an ideal situation. You have your long fingers on black notes and your short fingers on white notes. And that means that we don't need to focus on in and out motions. We can focus just on the rotation. It's less for a student to think about, and that's why I recommend starting with the B major scale. And before we do that, I have two rules of thumb. The first one is very simple. The right thumb always plays to the left. Always, always, always. You can't find a single exception. The right thumb always plays to the left. Or when I say left, I mean counterclockwise. And then the left thumb will always play to the right or clockwise. All right, so that's an important piece of advice to keep in mind at all times. So that's the first rule of thumb. The second rule of thumb is that in the ascending scale, for thumb under, the right thumb moves just behind the finger that is playing and no farther. Going past a certain point brings the thumb into the extreme range of motion. You can feel that if you just pull your thumb all the way to the fifth finger. You feel the tension already that you're creating. That's called going to the extreme range of motion. And then the other reason not to do the thumb any further than is comfortable is that it creates dual muscular pulls. So if you will try and experiment with me, if you start with your hand in the natural curve, which is the way it is when it's just swinging by your side while you're walking, your fingers are neither curled nor straightened out. They're in the natural curve. And I want you to just wiggle your fingers. And you see it's very easy to move your fingers nice and fast if they're in the natural curve. But now I want you to try putting your thumb behind, say, your fourth finger and try wiggling your fingers. It's very hard. It impedes the motion of the fingers because you're creating dual muscular pulls. So the second rule of thumb is that you never go past the, you go almost all the way to the third finger, but never further. So let's start talking about the actual playing of the B major scale. And we're talking now about 1 octave ascending in the right hand. And we're going to go slowly and in no particular rhythm to begin with. Now, if we just take a look at the last 5 notes of the scale, that is going to be the same as the 5-finger pattern that hopefully you have mastered. It makes no sense to really get into the scale without first having the 5 fingers down, really having that mastered. That should be old material. So the trick, the new material really is how to play the first 4 notes of the scale, how to get to that E. Okay, so we're also going to talk about going to F as well. F sharp rather. So when we start the B and the C sharp, it's the same way as if you were playing a 5-finger pattern. And I'm going to use the words swing for a backswing. Backswing means you go in the direction opposite to the direction you're going to play in. Okay? So, and then we can say swing, play, or in this case, I'm going to say swing and then left to be clear about which direction we're playing in. So to play the B and the C sharp, we're going to swing, backswing, and then to the left, follow through, and then right, and then down. Down means that you make sure that you are finished with your motion, that you're not tilted. You have like a checklist when you play down, when you say the word down rather. You want to make sure you're not tilted. Tilted would be either tilted to the left or tilted to the right. But here we want to make sure we're just straight on the key. Untilted is the word I use. And then the other thing you want to make sure is that you are straight with yourself. Notice I'm not parallel with the piano. Maybe it'd be better to, let me demonstrate here, because here you have the awkwardness of being at an angle with the piano. We're going to start now here. So you want to make sure your finger, hand, and arm are aligned straight, okay? So we're going to swing left, right, again. Swing left, and then right, down. And on down, I'm making sure I'm not tilted, I'm straight with myself, and I'm just comfortably resting on the bottom of the key. I'm not pushing, and I'm not hovering. In other words, my weight is, I'm just standing as if I were standing on the floor. I'm not pushing into the floor, and I'm not trying to float off the floor. I'm just standing. My weight is supported by the floor. All right, so again, it's going to be swing, left, right, down. Swing, left, right, down. All right, and then here's the real new material. Oh, and also the last thing I should have mentioned is that my thumb is right behind the second finger. I don't pull it all the way over to the fourth or fifth finger. It's just right behind the second finger. We'll get there. We're just going to move much more gradually. Now, when we go to the D sharp, E, and F sharp, that's when you have to remember the first rule of thumb. The right thumb is always going to play to the left, or counterclockwise. That means the E is going to be played by the thumb in a counterclockwise motion, and then the right thumb, when I play D sharp, E, and F sharp, it's going to be swing right. So I finished getting to C sharp. I'm going to swing and then play right and left and right down. When I say down, we're going to go through the checklist. So I swing to the left in order to go right, left, and then right, down. And on down, I make sure that I am not tilted. I'm not tilted to the right nor to the left. And then I'm going to make sure that I am straight with myself. And then I'm going to make sure that I am comfortably resting at the bottom of the key. I'm neither hovering nor digging. And the thumb is simply right behind my second finger. Then the rest of the 5 fingers, the rest of the notes are played exactly the way 5 fingers are. So it's going to be swing down, swing down, swing, and then if I'm going to come back, now coming back to the D sharp, after I play the E, I need to swing to the left. Remember, the right thumb always plays to the left, and then right, and then to the B. All right. Now that takes care of the motions, the rotation. And the most important things, again, are that the thumb always plays the right thumb always plays counterclockwise, and it never goes beyond a little bit past the second finger. Because we find that rotation, the thumb is brought right over to over where it needs to be. Let's talk now a little bit about the C major scale, which is more complicated. Why? Because here you have to accommodate the fact that your long fingers are going to be playing, need to be brought out to the white key area. Now, of course, there's another way to bring your fingers out to the white key area. You know, you can put a pencil here, put your thumb on here, and you can curl them. All right? But if you want to see what's wrong with that, try moving your fingers in the natural curve, and then curling them, and try moving them. And you'll see you lose all that freedom. It's very tight. So everything I said about the rotation in the B major scale applies to the C major scale, but the C major scale also requires adjusting by bringing the hand out to the, bringing the long fingers out to the white key area. And that is called moving out. And then when you need to play your thumb again, you'll need to move in. So moving in and out is a whole topic of discussion for the Taubman approach, and we just call it in and out. So the C major scale, first of all, we're going to start with the backswing and play to the left and then to the right, and it's down. If you're not sure why it's down, why you don't just continue to 3, you need to have your teacher explain to you the difference between single rotations and double rotations, because going from C to D, you're going in opposite directions, and then when you go to E, you're going in the same direction twice. So you need to stop before you go to the E to do a separate backswing. That's called a double. So, all right. Going from C to D, we need to come out to play in the white key area, to bring it out of the black key area. And we're going to stop there, and we're going to go through our checklist. We want to make sure that we are not tilted, that we're not leaning over to the right or to the left, that we're straight, and then we want to make sure we're not digging into the key, we're not hovering over the key, but we're just comfortably standing on the key. And we also want to make sure that the thumb is right behind the second finger. Okay, and then when we go to E, E is going to be to the right, F is to the left, G is to the right. So those are single rotations. Well, it starts with a double rotation to the E, and then single rotations all the way to G. So D to E is a double rotation. That's why I have a backswing to the left, play right, and to the left, and to the right. All right, so the third finger moved out slightly, and when I go to F, do the thumb under. Notice that I didn't need to tuck my thumb all the way under. I just go to where it's absolutely comfortable, and I bring my thumb into the key using the forearm motion. I like to call that a pole vault. Now, keep in mind that what I'm talking about is I'm showing it in a very exaggerated way. That when you're actually playing a scale, you're not going to feel like you're pole vaulting. But when you're first learning the motion, and maybe exaggerating a little bit, you feel that you're coming out, and then you come in and down. we're straight with ourselves. We're not digging into the key. And the thumb is right behind the second finger. And then let's, for the fun of it, go up another octave. All right, so we're going to come out. It's a double rotation, so that means I need to do a backswing to play the A. And I barely move out on that because the next note, when we play 5 fingers, the in and out is going to be out, out, in. But when we do the scale, Mrs. Taubman discovered that it is, you have much more momentum in the playing if you come out slightly on the third finger, come out more and do your pole vault on the B, on the C. So on the B. The B is played out and up, down and in. You bring your thumb to where you need to play. So the thumb is, I said it never goes further than the third. For me, it's not even comfortable to take it all the way to the third, and I don't need to. And so we're going up another octave, so we're here, and then I'm just going to say the out and in and out. So it's out, out, in, out, out. Now, if I'm going to move, do a turn here and come back, coming down, if I'm going to just finish, I go in. That's how I finish it, if it ends up there. But if I'm going to turn around, then I'm doing out, out, and then the pivot is here, and I go in. That makes a nice rounded shape, which is getting a little bit past what my topic is. Shaping is someone else's bailiwick today. So, you know, a good example of that is in the Mozart, the C major sonata, Herschel 545. In Herschel 545, we have the famous scales. So here, since the scales go not only up but continue down. If I were playing, and by the way, you know what I said about a C major scale with in and out, it's going to be the same fingering and the same in and out if I start on any of the white keys. And so here we're talking about starting on A and then G and then F. Do you see how I'll do it slowly? So I come out, out, in, out, and then normally if I were stopping on the A, I would go out, in. Okay, but since I want to get a rounded figure, I'm going to do something a little different, which is out, and then this is a pivot note. The A, I'm kind of doing both out and in. And so forth. The B major scale, I was thinking, how am I going to find an example of a B major scale? And then I remembered that the B major prelude from the Prelude and Fugue from Book 2 of the Well-Tempered Clavier is starts with B major scales going both in the right hand and the left hand. So this is the prelude number 23, Book 2. So the right hand is going to be. Now, here it has a mordent on the following note. And they suggest for their fingering 5-3-1. I find that a little awkward. So what I recommend is play the scale. And then I find 1-3-1 easier. Plus it helps me get an accent on the first note of the mordent, which is the note that should get the accent in Baroque music. And then the left hand replies. So let's just talk about the left hand just a little bit. The rotation is simply, it's going to be right, left, down. And I make sure I go through my checklist, left, down. And then it's going to be back, left, right, left, down. And then left, down. Now, I did want to leave a few minutes for any questions on the scales before we go to the masterclass part.
All right, you guys heard Father Paul. We're going to open up for some questions, okay? If you guys have any, you can type it in the chat. If you guys want to start your videos and unmute, you are welcome to as well. Just let me know and I can unmute you guys.
And if there are no questions, we can go to the
Yeah, we'll give them a minute. I'm going to set up Maya, correct? Yes. All right, let's see if I can find Maya in here and we'll see if any questions pop up.